Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next Wasteless World Talks are here with Bill, Kevin, and myself to write on the back of a language to the wasteless world. And we have one term today, as usual, and the word is rather simple. It's life. And something tells me it will be an interesting time spent together. So, Bill, you are on the top of my screen. When you heard the term life 1 minute ago, what came first to your mind?
About 10 minutes ago, I read a passage, a little science paragraph that said that the hummingbirds that were born this past summer, a couple of months ago, are about to begin their annual 2,000-mile flight to Central America without parents, without a GPS, and scientists have no idea how they do that. So when you say life, to me, that hummingbird is life. There's so much we do not know, and yet we do it anyway. And all around us are people and birds doing it anyway. So, to me, life is an adventure. Uh, um, I remember there's a term we use here in America, bigger than life. Uh, and I think every day is bigger than life. It's bigger than anything we can imagine. It's exciting. So that's the thought that came to my mind.
Thank you very much, especially the hummingbird story. I didn't know about it. So, Kevin, what about you? What came first to your mind?
This is such a complicated word. I was thinking that life is something extremely personal. We're given life. We have life. This is our life. But our individual life is a part of a bigger life, which is the life of the planet, the life of all living things. So it means everything that's alive, but it means specifically me at the same time. It's really a complicated word.
You know, this term came to me in a sleep and it waked me up really. So I was sure I will use it. But I asked my colleague. So I asked her, and she was standing. And it was for the first time when she has to sit. She said, I don't see anything, but I need to sit because it's so powerful, which was quite interesting response. And I asked Kiana, my love, and she said, Michael, it's love, which we found just a few months ago. This is life. Because both of us, let's say we have our bad time as well as good time, and all counts to the life. But for her, so as for me, right now is the life is this new chapter of the life. And here I came with the chapters. So are books alive?
And yeah, they are. They're alive while you're writing them. All the characters are alive. It is a it is a living thing.
Same for you, Bill?
And then
Yeah, I agree, Kevin. Same for me. And if I were to die after writing one of the books, it would be okay because I have lived in that book. It's very weird. I have never gone back and read one of my books. Never. It is by itself. It is the beginning. It is the end. Um, a book. Yes, many chapters in the book. My wife and I were just talking. You know, she uh, immigrated from Minsk a bunch of years ago, and she has so many different chapters in her life growing up there, the whole trip over, and so on. I have so many chapters in my life, times when I thought it's over. I don't care if I die right now. And then something exciting comes along, and I'm glad I'm still here to enjoy it. I think chapter is a good word for life.
Kevin, anything to add?
I was just thinking, you know, in the last story I finished, a bit of it takes place during the Petrograd Revolution in 1917. And by doing research, I found out that the women were protesting against the price of bread. And the Tsar, he couldn't trust his own army to put down any problems in the streets. So he sent the Cossacks. And the Cossacks were known for their brutality. And the Cossacks lined up on one side of this bridge, facing the women on the other side. The Cossacks dismounted, walked across the bridge, and told the women, "We're with you." And that sparked off the Greater Revolution. And to write that, you almost live it. You become a part of it. And that feeling is fantastic. It really is.
In the past, there was common that people write diaries, that people chronicles and so on, but it's not so frequent today. And I think last year there was introduced a device. It was not successful, but it was introduced a device which you should carry on your neck. It was AI connected somehow, whatever, and it should record everything what you did. It was not successful, not because the people don't want to buy it. There was a lot of funding, but because it simply did not work properly. But if you look at yesterday, there was the new introduction of the new iPhone, I think iPhone 17, if I do remember. I didn't watch it, but all devices today, or almost all devices today, have AI integrated. And somehow I feel they are recording the life around or collecting data and so on. Data are being stolen and misused, and there are many stories. But shouldn't we come back to the diaries which we wrote? Shouldn't we write them again? Because, in the past, all three of us, if you took a picture, you let someone, or you make it the photograph and you put it in a book. These books are not there anymore. We have millions of pictures which we never look at. So what is the life? Is it really still here in the reality, or do you feel like it's being transferred partly already in this virtual space?
Well, I think that's up to us, each of us individually. If you spend your whole vacation taking pictures of how pretty the waves are, or how pretty the sky is, or so that you'll never forget, but then you never look at the pictures. So what have you just done? You have just not touched your vacation. You have tried to digitize your vacation, and you did not enjoy it because you were too busy taking pictures, and you don't look at the pictures. So I think life is what we make it. It's up to each of us individually.
I agree. I think if you're living a busy, fulfilling life, then I don't see the need to record it. You live it instead. It's an experience. It's I don't ever look at people's holiday photographs. I have absolutely no interest. I would love to be there. I'm sure where they go, it's really, really beautiful, but their photos experience is not mine. And the same with the food they eat in restaurants, all that kind of stuff. I have no interest in engaging in at all. And I wouldn't impose it on anybody else either.
The reason why I'm asking, you probably noticed that in Nepal was the government overthrown day before yesterday or so. The reason was the ban of social media. It was the second one already, but this one was much stronger. They banned 17 social media platforms, and almost immediately the people go into the streets, and really they have to select a new government because the old one, even the prime minister and the previous prime minister there, has been somehow hit and beaten by the people. So, and what is interesting, Nepal is not a rich country, but it was for many years, it was the happiest country in the world. And I think it was happiest because of the way the people live and they enjoy the life. And not, I think, I didn't check the history of Nepal, but I don't think that a single time was someone ready to overthrow the government because they are not rich. But right now, because of social media access, so this is why I asked, because it looks like that the social media are more important for the people than the life itself.
Social media has become the Soma, the book 1984, and everybody took a pill every day to keep them from being excited, or they just need to go to work. Just get in line, go to work, take your pill. The social media is a lot like that Soma from 1984, I think. Um,
And do you think the people who...
And I think it's interesting, if you look at...
Yes, Kevin?
I was going to say, if you look at social media, I think it's important also to look at people's lives. I know that extremely early adapters were Finland and Sweden. But then if you look at the geography, it's a small population, vastly spread out. And for them, social media made an awful lot of sense because, your nearest neighbor was 4 kilometers away. And so it was a way of building relationships and building your network out. Whereas if you live in the city, the last thing, well, no, you still need social media as well. It does serve a really good social function when it's working correctly or when you use it correctly.
And I think using it and working are two very different things, because currently social media are used for very different things than socializing. One of the guests in the talks about nothing, he called them asocial media. So the very opposite of socialization, in his words. And he's right. I see many people who really take the likes and take the hearts and thumb up and so on very seriously on the social media platform without looking at the reality of the real world, because it's so easy to put a thumb up, especially if you are anonymous, than comparing to the life where the people are not ready or not able to communicate with you face to face. And the question is, do they lose life, or the life just change the form?
So that's an interesting question. How did we communicate 100 years ago, and how do we communicate today with social media? And I think today we communicate with through social media a lot with reactions. What somebody said, then you call them a name, or you tell them to go someplace bad, or you're reacting. Whereas 100 years ago, if you communicated with someone, either you went and sat face to face, their face, how it changed, or what they were doing, and so or you would sit down and you would think as you were writing a letter. Our means of communication has changed so dramatically, and social media is one of the change agents that has made it change so quickly. And again, it's up to us. How do I communicate with you? I have to communicate over technology with you because I'm not there, and I'm not going to come over to Prague every Wednesday. Um, so I have to use technical, but this is so different from using social media. What do you think, Kevin? Has it really changed that much?
Everything has changed. I think one of the things we've forgotten is that, if you meet some friends, you have a great evening. That's an experience. And you can look back and what a great evening that was. But it's made up of a series of events, which, some are gone in an instant. Once you start recording them, you're not living the event anymore.
Right. You're an observer. Right.
Yeah. And so we're becoming observers these days. I tried one really interesting thing, and maybe it was some bad habit I picked up on the internet, but I was one Sunday morning in Germany. I lived right next door to the main teaching hospital. And I went on Sunday morning to buy a coffee, and there was a woman waiting for a taxi with the untidiest hair I've ever seen in my life. And I managed to bite my tongue and say nothing. But when I came back, she was still there. So I said, "What happened to your hair?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I've never seen such untidy hair." And she said, "You're the rudest person I've ever met." And then we sparked up a conversation and had a great time. And then, get in touch afterwards. But if you do that online, it won't work. But I wonder how many people actually have the nerve to do it face to face, which in the old days we had to do. If you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to go out and talk to them.
Every time we try to find the opposite. Is it so easy with life? Is it really only death, the opposite of life?
I don't think death is the opposite of life. In fact, just as
No.
Kevin was just saying, I think that being an observer is instead of living a life, you're yourself. And you still see life happen, but you're no longer a part of it. Not being a part of life may be the opposite.
Yeah, have you seen people at baseball matches these days? You go physically to a baseball match, and then you're recording it, and you're watching on a screen what's happening in real life in front of you.
Right. Oh, yeah. I think they do that because the camera that is sending the picture or the video has can do close-ups and knows just what's happening, and so you don't have to be looking all around to be following the action. You just have to observe what the cameraman is doing. And so why the hell are you in that stadium? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Why did you pay $100 to go sit in the stadium and get an expensive beer? That's yes.
I remember I went to the old Yankee Stadium, and the baseball was great, but it was the people sitting around you which made the whole thing so memorable. People are funny, and they're friendly, and they're very passionate, and everybody wants there. And if you're on a screen, you're missing it. You just can't engage in the same way.
That's very interesting.
I do remember the words of one.
I guess if there is an opposite of life, it's lifeless.
lifeless.
Oh, sorry, Michael. Go on.
No, no. I just remember the words of one of the speaker on some of the conference. He said, "Do you call your parents?" And everybody nodded, "Yes, we do." And he took his mobile phone and he said, "Do you call them with your mobile phone? Do you speak with them with your mobile phone?" We say yes. And he said, "No, you don't talk to them. You talk to your phone." And everybody was sitting there and realizing how right he was. That was interesting. And that was, I think, the lifeless moment, the wake up, the understanding of the complexity. Of course, I cannot go every day to my parents, but at least I speak every day with them on the phone. And then when I can, I visit them. And it's completely different conversation. And as you mentioned, it's all the time conversation. It's never one way streaming or receiving the streaming. But it depends on us, as Abel mentioned, how we will use it, how we will differentiate. Even the social media can be used the right way, Zoom can be used the right way. It depends on us. It is just the push from the owners, from the society, and so on. I just noticed on LinkedIn much more videos advising the users to record video messages instead of just writing. They said it's the return rate or whatever, it's much higher and so on. I don't understand what they speak about. But I realize that if we will record ourselves as videos and publish it there, the AI has easy work to do. Just copy us.
Yeah.
When we speak about life, do you think there is a life in the virtual world?
Oh, sure. I think there's a life in every world. It's different, and it may be better or worse than the life that we've just been talking about now. But there is a life. I think there's a wide spectrum of existing that can all be called life. And I think it's our challenge to make, experience, create the best life for each of us. In my life, I need to be in nature, either at the beach, in the forest. And when I'm not, it's still a life, but not as good. That's my judgment.
What about you and virtual life, Kevin?
Virtual life. I don't have one, that's for sure. I prefer to be in the real world. I don't exist. I have a Facebook account, and that's it. And that's only so I can try and find out what on earth my kids are up to.
And do you think that today your living style, if we call it so free of virtual world distraction, is healthier than the other one, which is with the screen in your hand?
Again, it's how you engage with it. I think that social media, like Bill says, there's so many of them have likes or dislike buttons. Why on earth is that? Can't you just watch it and appreciate it or leave it? Why do you have to judge everything? And I think that's the big problem with social media, it does become asocial because you're asked to judge, you're expected to judge.
How do you look at the development that many of the social media generally abolish dislike? You have only like and some emojis and so on, but only the thumb up. The thumb down is, I think it remains in Facebook, on Facebook. I think it is in YouTube. And I think these are the only two which you can place dislike, express dislike, sorry.
Yeah. Actually, one interesting thing I thought about the other day is that, our next door neighboring country is Sweden. And to get an opinion out of a Swede is like getting blood out of a stone. Unless you give them emojis. Suddenly they're the most expressive people on the planet.
When you mention Sweden, just this week appear a lot of articles about how people in Sweden and the government is really clever because they built incarnation facility for waste. And they are right now importing waste from 7 countries in Europe. And they are so good about it. So they are good about the waste management. And I know from the beginning that this investment has been overestimated, and they are making a lot of bad things with importing waste from all over the Europe, because you create more waste by importing the waste and burning it than if you don't. But then I started to understand that the Swedish government didn't talk about this, but right now they started, like the situation is changing, But I do understand why Sweden was, I don't know, 120th or 110th country where I was able to find the ambassador, because all people to whom I spoke rejected, including the environment minister at the time. So it was quite interesting. But the emoji, interesting idea.
Yeah, they love their emojis.
I have problem with understanding the emojis. According to what I was explained, every emoji has its meaning. So you can have, I just understand the smiley and the other sad emoji. But they said, no, it's not just a smile. It's it's smiling with whatever, with some other emotion. There are so many emojis, much more than the letters in the alphabet. How should I understand all the emojis? I do remember one day when my daughter replied to some of my message with a set of emojis. I didn't know what she said. No idea.
No, I don't really. I think, is there an emoji for "don't be an idiot"? It's much more fun to be direct than to try and hide it behind an emoji.
And then not only hide it behind an emoji, but now you have to guess what I mean.
Yeah.
So this is such a fascinating topic. How our where we've gone to is how our communication is changing. When I was growing up, we wrote letters and we put a 3-cent stamp on the letter and mailed it. And how wonderful it was when my grandmother or somebody else would write a letter back to me, and there's a letter, it's got my name on it. And I know that just recently her fingers sealed the envelope and wrote my name on it. It's so personal. It's so personal, which of course we don't do now. But we have telephones and we can talk, and we have telephones with cameras so we can see the other person. But now we've gone beyond that, and now we emoji back and forth. It's how it has changed. And what you said about emojis having so many deeper meanings, like a thumbs up. I know what that means. It means you approve. You're judging. You're making a judgment on it. You approve. Okay, I can go on. But are there more deeper meanings to those emojis? So are people pulling my chain and making fun of me, and I don't realize it, which is probably a good thing. But how communication has changed. Wow. And what will communication be like in 10 or 20 years if it keeps changing like this? We won't be able to have a conversation.
Uh, yes, Kevin?
I was when technology first took off, none of us knew how to work a keyboard. These days, we all we had to. I remember at my school, some of the girls they did typing lessons, so you could actually go to school and learn how to use a typewriter. And
Yes, we had typing class also.
yeah, and these days, it's just we all do it. So the fact is, we've all become writers to some degree or other. It's quite interesting. So the number of words written every day must have exploded over the last 20 years. So we are actually living in a world with much more written words than we've ever done in our history.
I never thought about it.
What did you say, Michael?
That I never thought about it that we have more words written right now. I was thinking that it's declining because of the emojis and so on.
So if you change that sentence to say we have more different words than we've ever written before, because I think they're all the same words. You've got about 20 or 50 words. You just rearrange them and repeat them.
Yeah, that's true.
So life and communication are close together, are relatives.
I think all life
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think all life has to communicate. Otherwise, it can't reproduce. So even the most fundamental level, even if it's a chemical communication, one life form must be able to find another life form. And we've managed, I think a lot of animals develop an extremely complex way of communicating. But without communication, we can't pass life on.
Here we come to the very beginning words of Bill regarding the hummingbirds. We don't know how they do, and then still they can fly thousands of kilometers without GPS and whatever, and they find a destination and they find a way home after. So it's quite interesting how much
and they are not, and right, and they're not alone. There's 10,000 up there in that flock of birds, and somehow they're communicating with each other.
So once again,
like bats flying around at night communicate with each other.
Once again, it shows up how imperfect we are. And I don't think the emojis will help us to improve the life itself. When I ask someone, because I don't use emojis, I am learning to use few on Facebook right now to improve my communication over there, but I don't use them. I prefer to write. And to be honest, I'm not sure if it's the expression of life. It's when I ask someone why they use emoji, most of the people answered me, "It's faster. I can do it with one click." And they don't care whether the person on the other side understand what they mean. And for sure, they don't expect any response or any negative response. That's the worst one. They just want to get rid of it. It's the same like asking, how are you? And the answer in Czech Republic is, no. We ask, what's new? And the answer is nothing. But the reality is everything is new. Every breath, everything. But one of the person, when I mentioned this, I said, they don't want to talk to you. They just want to get rid of you. This is why they say fine or nothing. And this is how we lose.
Right.
Lose even the life, I think. It was interesting because Philip, which is the ambassador in Switzerland, when I asked him the first question, he said, Michael, life is not to waste. Not to waste time, not to waste anything, but to live. Really meaningful, to do something. This is what expression came to his mind was wasteless. And it was so nice. That was so nice, to be honest.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Because
when we are finished with a topic, the topic of the week, and we turn off our computers and leave this meeting, we're thinking. We've said this 100 times. I'm still thinking about what we talked about and how this meaning, or Kevin said this, and I'm still thinking about that. When you see an emoji, how much thinking does an emoji make you do, right? Right? Emoji does not stir thought. It does not convey thought. It's stupid. Now, in 10 or 20 years, will there be something more stupid than an emoji? We will invent something more stupid. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if we do communicate to reproduce, using emojis is not the best way to get a partner to reproduce.
I was asking one of my friends, one of the directors, he was in the army time. He was working with the radio and using the Morse's alpha or Morse signs. And I asked him
Morse code.
Yes, Morse code. Yeah, Morse code. And I said to him, you should write your next article in Morse code. It will be fun.
Nobody will understand.
It will be fun because many people will remember, but they will ask maybe AI or so for help. But it will be quite interesting because exactly it wake up the mind, the brain inside our head, and maybe somewhere else in the body. We have less than 1.5 minutes left, so the life is running, and we are not able to stop it. But what we can influence, whether it will be fulfilled. And I think for me, this conversation every Wednesday is such a big fulfillment of life, helping to live the meaningful life. So, because we have 1 minute.
It's a great word, and thank you for thinking of this. Thank you for participating in this conversation. And I'm going to go speak with my wife now because she's been listening this whole time and discuss it.
Thank you very much. Have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and enjoy the life, the meaningful life which you live. Thanks a lot and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.